welcome everyone to the April meeting for the Nancy Tech community. Let's go ahead and get started. Here we go. Just a friendly reminder, all of these meetings are recorded and posted on our YouTube channel. If you don't wish to be recorded, you could stay on mute and stay off camera, or you can disengage from the call altogether and then watch the recording, which will be posted in our YouTube channel. The networking session is excluded from the recording. All right, for today's agenda, right now we already had arrivals, we're going through the greeting, and we'll meet the team as usual. We'll talk about Anansi and how it's a tech community for Microsoft folks especially. We'll have a call for speakers, sponsors, and volunteers, our community announcements, and then we'll get into our speaker time. So we have Eric, who will be talking about Baobab today. Then we have a sub out because we had a little bit of a change in speakers this month. So Harry and I will be doing a presentation on SharePoint pages and document libraries. And then Sal will, whoops, that is the wrong agenda. But Sal will end this with using Wi-Fi and AI to tell your story in Africa and in the US. See? Okay. So go back to meet the team. So I'm your host today, Nakia Carter, but I'll also be part of the speaker. And then we'll have Harry, who will also speak today, but co-founder of Anansi, along with Sigul, Ezra, and Imani. Now about our community, we're a community of Microsoft professionals, those who are in business, those who are in education, those who are just enthusiasts who want to learn more about Microsoft Office 365, SharePoint, Teams, Power Platform, things like that. And we have a bunch of sessions that we'll be doing that will be around the tech that I just talked about, as well as things like tech career and career in general. There are community links, but I'll also have some QR codes on the last slide that you'll be able to scan to get to the community, as well as to the page where you can register for more events. And if you like to get social, please use the hashtag Anansi Tech Community or Anansi Tech. Slides are being a little slow today. Okay, so our all call. We would like some more speakers, sponsors, and volunteers. So as far as speakers, whether you're a first-time speaker or you're a veteran, we would love to host you and have you on our program. You could try out your presentation skills, especially if you're a new speaker. This is a low-pressure environment where you can, practice, get good at speaking, so you could take your speaking if you like to do that to the next level. Or it even helps when you're doing presentations at work. But if you have topics, whether they be around tech, Microsoft tech, namely around tech community, around tech career, or around career, we'd love to have your topics. So let us know. You can scan the QR code to sign up. If you would like to sponsor, right now we're online, but soon we'll be going into a hybrid mode where we'll have online as well as in person. So if you like to sponsor those types of events, we are looking for funds, but you can also donate in kind. So things like donating food and swag and prizes for the events when we have them, and also when we have our tech conference. So if you're interested in becoming a sponsor, please scan the QR code and let us know. We're also looking for volunteers. So if you volunteer with us for at least 3 months, we will give you a official letter to add to your portfolio that shows that you have community involvement. So it's a great way to boost up your resume. But we could use help with hosting the monthly meetings, organizing the meetings, engaging with speakers, engaging with the community, engaging with sponsors, things like that. So if you're interested in joining us, please scan the QR code and let us know. We would love to have you. Okay. Now, huge thank you to our volunteers that we have so far. Priscilla, Harrison, amazing, and Samuel. All right. Now we're getting into our community announcements. So we have a couple. We have let me make this a little bit, apologies. Slide is acting up a little bit. Okay. We have the International Trade Show being held in July in Ghana. So it will be in Greater Accra. And you can see the address and the details on the screen. And this is for people wanting to break into the African market, so even if you're in the market, you should probably go there, especially if you're trying to start a business. You like to see how things are going and meet with other people who are starting businesses as well in the energy sector. All right. There's also an international conference on communication, business, and technology that will be in August, and that's also in Accra at the University College of Science and Technology. So you can see those details on this screen. All right, so this is a community, so each one teach one. This is a community where we all share our knowledge, teach each other so that we all can grow and get better as a community. And each individual can also grow. Now I'm going to show you a little presentation to give you some ideas around Microsoft. This one's going to be on Microsoft Viva and Microsoft Viva Insights and Glint, and how this company Sage is using it.
Happy colleagues equal happy customers. We want to be an employer of choice. We want people to enjoy coming to work and to provide great customer service. Sage is a global software company. We focus on payroll, accounting and HR products for small and medium-sized businesses.
Our mission is to knock down barriers so that everybody can thrive, and we do that through our technology solutions and the services that we provide. We're a Microsoft shop, so we knew that Viva Insights and the data that would surface could be a trusted source, and that's led us to Viva to give us more data-driven insights that we can then combine with Viva Glint and together create a more formidable action plan.
Before we had Viva Glint, we used an external company that ran a survey once a year. It was about 50 questions and you were presented back with a PDF report. Really, really different to the instant access that people have today.
We've used Glint to improve employee retention. Our attrition was 40% 2 years ago. It's now 10.7.
Having a listening strategy and colleagues having access to Viva Glint gives them a voice in our organisation. Creating a survey in the platform is surprisingly easy. It just gives us real-time access, not only to the qualitative and quantitative feedback, but also the behavioural indicators that we have no way of measuring. Over the last few years, we've seen our response rates grow to 87%, which is our all-time highest. I think the confidentiality factor has really helped with that response rate. People know it, they trust it.
Using Glint, I am now able to understand exactly where I have challenges with colleagues. Do I have the right headcount? Do I have the right salary for all tenured agents? Do they feel like they can speak their mind?
The AI is a key feature for us. We're a team of 6 with a very big remit and a large colleague base of 12,000 people. In our latest survey, we had 21,400 comments, which is a lot for us to read. Really grateful for the AI that helps us out with that one. It gives us the key themes. That takes a lot of the analysis out of it for us.
It's the AI that can really surface the sentiment analysis that I can then focus on specific keywords and try and understand what my colleagues are telling me. Where Viva Insights and the quantitative data really came in, we could see that 30% of the meetings within the engineering community were project update or something similar. So what we did was streamline how we were doing governance on projects. And what that's allowed us to do is reduce the number of project status type meetings down to 20%. So we now know that our colleagues have a more predictable workday. That's resulted in at least a 10% increase in the time that our team are engineering and not spending that time in status update meetings.
Knowing what colleagues need us to do differently helps us to create better experiences for them, which in turn gives them more time to create better experience for customers.
Really excited about the Viva Suite and the journey, and I'm confident in the overall employee experience here at Sage.
We've seen a 10% uplift in colleague performance. So in terms of their customer satisfaction, we've been smashing our KPIs in that space. So plus 96%, which is absolutely phenomenal.
Just had a chance to see how a company is using Microsoft Viva to give better employee experiences, and using Viva Insights and Viva Glint. Just so that you know, Microsoft Office 365 includes Viva, but there is it's kind of like the lighter version of Viva. So if you want Viva Insights and Glint at this level, you have to purchase the Viva licensing, the full Viva Suite licensing. All right. So next up, we have Eric, who will be talking about the Baobab Platform. And then Harry and I will be talking about SharePoint pages and document libraries. Adetombi will join us next month. And Sal will talk about using Wi-Fi and AI to tell your story in Africa and in the US. So do we have Eric on the call? If not, then I will go ahead and present his portion.
No, I don't see Eric on the call.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay. So let's jump in. So Baobab is a platform made by Africans for Africans. It was through the Mastercard company, where Mastercard in Africa, the employees there wanted to develop a platform so that they could communicate, they could learn, they could exchange ideas and things like that. They wanted a social platform, but one that also allowed for learning and for community. So that's how Baobab became a part of what's out there as far as social media platforms available at this time. So I'm going to give you an overview about Baobab, how to join, some of the settings that you can go through, the features, the Ask Me Anything, the networking, and how you can join today. So the Baobab platform, as I was saying, is a social platform for professionals and those who want to learn, mostly young African leaders doing all types of works. And new participants can be from the Mastercard Foundation programs, could be alumni or participants, but the platform is actually open for everyone to be able to use. So how do you join? You could join using this link. You just sign up. You don't have to use any of the, check for any of the programs. You just enter your name and some of the profile information, but the programs, you just leave that alone. There's a link in this deck or in our previous decks that we've posted in the community that you can go to that shows you how to sign up if you're having issues. But basically your profile, something like this, you can upload your professional headshot. There's places for you to fill in like your location, your personal interests, put in a headline, things like that. There's a feed allows you to see what others are posting, and then of course you can post as well. Share achievements and pictures and different quotes for things that might be inspirational. So a lot of sharing there. There's courses. There's a wide range of things. So they can suit those who are professionals as well as those who are still in university at the time. And these courses are completely free. And here are some of the course topics. So there's foundational skills, STEM, digital skills, work readiness. So you have a bunch of different topics of different types of courses that you could go into that, again, completely free, and anyone can sign up to be a part of this platform. You can also post and share opportunities, and others can do that as well. Those opportunities can be things like scholarships, they could be internships, employment opportunities, so a bunch of different opportunities that you could go through. You can also get a mentor through the Baobab platform. There's a mentorship program, offers one-to-one mentorship where you can get advice and guidance on your career, personal things that might be happening, as well as getting, more specific career advice. So you can get that there. There's also Ask Me Anything, where people can host, and as well as you can host an event where people can just come and ask you anything around a specific topic. So here's an example of one on this slide. All right, and that's example of some of the questions and answers that also can happen on the platform. Now, if you're a university student, there are definitely a lot of benefits here. The opportunities, the mentorship, the personal development, the networking, and collaboration abilities. And then there's extra features. So there's bilingual, I believe it's French and English. There's messaging, notification, and of course there's a menu for you to help you get around. And there's an app for it. So you can get it on your phone, out of the Apple Store or the Google Play Store. Now, why should university students in particular join, but really anybody? Um, because you can use this platform to help you with your networking as well as help you with your personal development. So it's kind of an all-in-one platform where you can find opportunities for work as well as opportunities for learning. And of course, especially if you're in the tech field, you need to keep your learning up in order to keep getting those opportunities for work. So you'll also be able to gain skills if you wanted to become an entrepreneur. There's lots of different courses and things that would help you with those hard and soft skills that you need to be in the workforce or to be your own business. So highly encourage, especially the university students, to check it out. But again, platforms for everybody. So I want to say thank you for that. And then I'm back on track now. Okay. I just had to create another slide real quick. And of course, there's timing in this slide, so apologies. Let me go back. So next up is Harry and I, we're going to be talking about SharePoint pages and document libraries. I know, Harry, you're going to go ahead and take the screen and kick us off, and then I will join.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Nakia. Good morning, everyone. I will start off by talking about what is SharePoint and how would you explain SharePoint to a client, your boss, if you want to recommend to him to get SharePoint for these, documentation for his use. So if you imagine a office, you walk into an office, you want a client to be able to walk into the office. You want your employees to be able to walk into that office. You want guests to be able to sometimes walk into that office to collaborate, to communicate, to have meetings, things of these natures. Okay, so imagine as you walk through that door, you might have a receptionist. That receptionist there to give you information to that client or to your employee, some information that's valuably known throughout the organization that can be used that's not secure. You might have a security guard in the lobby. You might have on the table a few flyers, a few informationals about the organization. You might have on the wall the employee of the month, and different data about that employee of the month, and then you have doors. Doors that may lead you to your HR, may lead you to your financial sector, your own personal office. And those things can look in a lot in various different ways. So as you see up, I have on my screen one way that you could have a SharePoint site look like. You can have it across all industries because all industry have a back office process. All MC wants to have an office. So just imagine this office as a digital office online. Okay, so this is one that will be in construction, a general contractor, just a basic site for just a team for developing, sales, healthcare, even down to where as though you have a company that has a bunch of different seniorities within that organization. Whereas though you have a company on top of a whole bunch of other companies on top of a bunch of other companies, you can actually have it within one environment. Also, in the States Arts, this is one that we did for the Playhouse Square, which is a big, gigantic arts program. They do a lot of plays. They do a lot of different theater. It ended up turning out more than this, but this was the base start. But today we're going to focus on our fictitious company. This is an organic food company. They sell organic food. And as you see across the top here, this is the doors that they have to different areas within their organization. So in your digital organization, this is your front office. This is when you come through the door. This is the first thing that they would see. Okay, you have your doors, which is your connection to buttons to different parts of the organization. Each one is under different security. Only your marketing team can get to marketing, your technology team get to technology team, and so on and so on. You have your logo up top. It's represented with your colors and everything of that nature. They have a new flex feature here that allows you to have this type of on-lap pictures and things of that nature. And if you look over here, we have a countdown clock because they have a grand opening that's coming up soon. So therefore, they counting down, they making sure everybody's in line. They're able to conversate with each other on a day-to-day basis. They're located in Washington, D.C. They have the weather here. And this is the time at this time right now. On this page, they also have different information about themselves, their core values, their OKRs, swag. They're able to communicate with each other through announcements, newsletters, articles, things of that nature. You also have different buttons here, another doorway to be able to get to Power Apps, your retail sales, operations, marketing, education, various different areas within your organization. You have a frequently asked question so that you have questions that's constantly asked on a regular basis. You can store them here. That way they don't have to wait in line to get in touch with HR, get in touch with you, or get in touch with finances. Those questions can be right here. You have your links to your LinkedIn, which allow the way to post your latest and greatest articles. Over here we have different apps connected in, like time off requests, which allow you to be able to come in for your organization and request time off right here without having to have to, send emails and things of that nature. Expense reports. If I need to follow expense report, I come right here in here and put it in a modernized form that allows you to have your expense report with automation behind it to send it to exactly who you need it to go to. We also have analytics here. And did I already have the analytics up before? Okay, that analytics tells us exactly who is using the site, how often they're using the site, what is the value that I'm getting from them actually using this site. Down here we have calendar events. So I can put different major events that's coming up right there so everybody can see right there. This is on the wall within your organizations. It's like a wall for you. Then here we have a dashboard that connects you to Viva, which you saw in the video earlier. But this is Viva, allows you to have things like Viva Learning. And let me pull that across. And Viva Learning allows you to be able to constantly upgrade your skills. It brings learning all within the flow of work. If you connect to things like LinkedIn, Microsoft Learning, different, what's the other one? Coursera, and quite a few different other learning. Even if I have information within my organization that I have learning material on my organization, it could be filed and added into Viva Learning so you can help with the continuous growth of your employees and things of that nature. There also is another way that you can communicate. You have interactive cards where so you can put things like book hotels, book hotel flights, shifts. When you're ready to come into your shift, you can clock in, clock out. You can collaborate in other ways with, you want your people healthy. So you have corporate wellness, which is, healthy tips and informationals. But today we want to focus on a Pacific site or a Pacific area in the site. Now, this is a team site, whereas though they have their retail sales. On their retail sales, they have, different areas, pickup services, what's coming soon, customer reports. They do a lot of that informationals by do a Power BI dashboard, which means they looked at data, and that data is what is selling in this area versus that area, and they make business decisions based on the revenue opportunities in these reports. They have a cost estimator, whereas though they can say how much of the cost for me to do this in this area for this person and estimate it. They also has an expense report because people have to do travel and they spend money every once in a while, so they have to be able to put in expense reports. They also have a book a room. Okay, if you think of an office that have a room where still you have clients that comes in, imagine having a virtual room where still you are able to have a virtual meeting just like we're having like this in a room with cameras and everything of that nature, or people around the world. You have to book that room for those clients. So they have an area here where they can come in and book that room. Then they have a document library here. Now I'm going to skip this over to Nikia. Nikia is going to go into more detail about the uses and the best uses for the document library and its future state and what it can provide you in the future. So I'm going to switch this over to Nikia.
Just before I get started, looks like our last speaker or our other speaker also is unable to attend. So we'll probably go longer on this session. And if you all have questions, especially if you're using SharePoint right now, now is the time to ask because we will be extending this session a little bit. Okay. All right. So I'm starting off in the page that Harry just showed you, retail sales, and he showed you bits of the page. And now I'm going to go down into the document library. Now this library is denoted for managers. So I can access the site as a manager and then see all the documents by clicking on see all. I could see the, specific list that was there on the page, but if I needed to see more, I click on see all and that takes me to the full document library. Once I get to the full document library, I have documents, I have some folders. Sometimes when you have folders, you have, well, maybe not in this one, oh, not in this one either, but sometimes you have, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. You have folders within folders within folders, um, and that can be a lot of digging around. People get lost when they have a bunch of folders. The structure makes sense at first, but as you add more depth and more folders going down, 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 people forget where was that document that I was just using, um, like last week. Um, how can I find it more easily? Well, of course, there's search for the library to help you get to search down into the folders and find the file that you're looking for. But another way, a better way to do this is to use what's called metadata. Metadata is data about data, and it really translates in the spreadsheet and SharePoint terms into a column, adding a new column. So say, for example, you have these different folders in your retail documents library. You have, your sales folder, and then I went down into sales for month one, and then there's finance under here. Instead of having all of these layers, we can make it these uh, fields that you can, so column turns into fields when you open up the item. It's a field on the form, which we'll see in a minute. You can create these fields that will add more depth, more data about the data, or more data about your file that could be translated into these groupings that are easier for you to see what's in the groups as opposed to seeing what's in down in a folder. So let's take, for example, we go up to the top level because this is where you'll want to initiate this metadata. The top level folders, we have our finance, presentations, receipts, and sales. So let's create a column that will capture this type of data so we don't have to put things in a actual folder. We can categorize it and use that option. So I'm going to create a choice field, choice column, hit next, give it a name, and it would be, let's say, doc type. And then the choices would be the names of these top level folders. Presentations, receipts, sales. Okay. Now, before I get off of this screen or off of this column, I'm going to show you some details on the column. Okay. This column is a choice column, but even as I chose choice, there is a drop down where I could choose to change it into a different column. So if I mistakenly hit the choice column and I meant it to be a yes, no, or a hyperlink column, I could still come and change it even as this side window is open, this panel is open. Since it's a choice column, I can enter the choices that I want to enter here. Now, I could say that I could allow people to add values manually. Now, I normally don't, and it's normally not best practice to do this. The reason why is because people can name things that are representative of a certain thing in different ways. So, for example, let's take a government agency in the US. Everybody knows about the FBI, I think. So, some people could put, so say for example, this was something that, they wanted to put in FBI for it. Some people are going to put in FBI, all caps. Some people are going to put in FBI, some letters capped. Some people are going to put in FBI, all lowercase. And then some people might spell it all the way out, Federal Bureau of Investigation. Now you got, once you go to try to group these things together, or you go to try to filter, you have all these weird extra groups and filters. So usually best practice is to put as many choices in here as and then allow the business owner, or go to the business owner and ask them, do they need more choices to add into the list? And whenever they need to add more choices, they need to actually notify either the business owner if they own their own site, or notify the admin who is managing the site to add that extra choice. It's just, I know it's convenient for users in the short term for them to be able to add their own values manually. But in the long term, when it comes to being able to filter and for your grouping, which I will show you how to do your grouping, that it will mess you up. So I would not allow it. It's normally not best practice. Sometimes there's a reason to do it, but for the most part, you're not going to do that. The default value. Normally, you would have the default value as nothing, none. That way, and I'm going to click on more options so you see the more options, because there's some more options we need to go through. That way, a person is inclined to choose something. Usually, if a person is filling out a form and they're going really fast, they got all these things to do, they got to get this done and that done and this done, they're going to speed through the form. You don't want them to speed through the form, especially if that field is required. It's a base field that is needed for something like your grouping. You need them to fill in an option. So we're going to make this field, this column required, that they fill in when they have the form open. They fill in that field on the form. And we want to make sure that there is no value there, so that they have to fill in the form. Anytime I see more options, I always expand it so that I can see the rest of the options here. One of the important options that I just talked about was the required, making this column required. Since it's based, I'm going to base my grouping the way get rid of the folders, but have groups that kind of act like folders, but are able to expand. Because I'm trying to do that, I need to have, and it's going to be based on this field, I need to have this field to be required. Field needs to be required. But again, if I make it based on some one of the values, somebody might speed right past that and not even fill it in. And then the form will just accept it, but it might be the wrong value. This forces them, this combination of none plus required forces them to fill in the value before they can submit the form. Allowing multiple selections, that might be something that you want, but when it comes to grouping, that's not what you want right now, because then you have stuff in multiple groups. It might make sense in some instances, but in this case, we're not going to do that. Also, drop down. How do you want this to show up when they look at the form, the field on the form? Well, do you want it to be a drop down, or do you want it to be radio buttons? Now, if you select multiple selections, what you're going to get is these check boxes, and they can check multiple things. Enforce unique values. Now, this is one that mostly you're never going to use. And the reason why is, if you enforce unique values, then when a person chooses finance, nobody else can choose that ever again. It's done. The choice is gone. And once somebody chooses presentation, Nobody else can use that again. The choice is gone. So most of the time, you're never going to use this, but it is there in case you do need it. And then there's column validation. Now, this is a place where you normally would put something like, and we're not going to use it in this case, but say, for example, you had an email address column, or you had a phone number column. This is one of the most common is the phone number. There's formulas that you can use to enforce people putting in the right format. So, if you want your phone number to be all digits, no dashes, you could enforce that with a formula. If you wanted dashes in there or parentheses in there somewhere, if you wanted them to make sure that they put the country code, you can enforce all of that using a formula. And then you can use a user message to put in, hey, before they even start filling in the field, if they hover over the field, it'll kind of pop up and say, like a tooltip. And you can put in there, the format is this. And that way they know what the format's supposed to be. But the other thing for this type of example, if you were to do that, I would also put the format in the description box, because then that shows up right up under the field. Actually, I'll put it in here so you can see what it looks like. This choose the type of document this file is, something like that. So the description box doesn't always have to be filled in. I kind of ran past that. It doesn't always have to be filled in, but it is helpful for it to be filled in, especially for things for formatting where you're going to be using that column validation. You want to let them know what the formatting is underneath the field itself. Or if it's a column that people might be like, what does that mean? I don't understand what am I supposed to put here, or what this column is supposed to do. If it's kind of unclear by the name of the column, normally the name gives away what the column should be. But if it's kind of unclear, or you need to add additional instructions, you put it in the description. Or like I said, you're using column validation, you put that formatting message in the description as well. Okay. All right, so that's all of the pieces for this type of field. When you're on different types of fields, like text or number, you get some things, some of these choices will be the same, like required. A lot of times enforce unique values shows up. A lot of times you have the column validation, but sometimes you don't have some of the options like drop down choices and things like that. But you normally also have the default value in some shape or form. So you'll get some of the options, but not all of the options. But these are the options that you get with the choice field. Okay, so I'm going to hit save, and there's my column right there. I'm going to make another column representative of the next level, which would be let's say that it's a date, or no, I'm sorry, not the date, like quarter and year. Okay, so I'm going to do another choice, hit next. Or matter of fact, let me make a mistake real quick. I'm gonna hit text, hit next. Okay. Now remember how I said I could change it, and also how I said that the field, based on the type of column that you want to create, you get different options. So you see for the text, I get these different options, but this isn't what I meant to do. So I could click on type, and then I can choose the one that I meant to do, which was choice, and then they'll change the options that I have. So I'm going to do one for year. And the choices will be 2025, 2026, 2027. Okay. I also want to make this required because I'm going to base it on that as well. Hit save. I'm going to do another one for a quarter. And that'll be my last one for right now. Or except for actually one more thing I'm going to do. So these will be Q1, Q2, Q3, add another choice, and Q4. All right, I want this to also be required that they fill this in and save that. Okay, so now I have a couple of columns, but I want one more column. So these are going to be kind of the columns that I can group by, but there's kind of a catch with grouping. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But I want one more column to kind of be representative of a couple of, well, two more columns to be representative of a couple of other things. Okay, so when you're in SharePoint, there's a URL up here. This URL can be pretty long, depending on which you're using, which you're on at that instance, what thing you're in. The URL has a limit of 400 characters. So if it gets past 400 characters, things break. Why am I telling you that? The deeper down you go into these folders, the more length you add to your URL. The longer the name of your document, you also could be adding to the length of the URL. So say, for example, you have a document down, 4 levels deep with long names on the folder names and long names for the document. You may go past the 400 amount of characters. Now, the funny thing is the system would let you upload that document, but trying to get back to the document, it will be broke. The link would just not let you allow you to get there. The document would just be floating in limbo somewhere and you can never get back to it. You can't delete it. It's just there. So don't do that. This is another reason why you want to make sure that you're using, not using folders. But another thing I'm going to show you is how to use a short name and a long name in these document libraries, as well as put in a description, because that's another thing that you should probably have in your document library. Okay, so we're going to add a column. The first column we're going to add is the description. It's going to be a text field. But not just a text field, I actually need it to be multiple lines of text. So I could choose text and then move on, but I can click on multiple lines of text. And oh, by the way, there is a preview of the columns when you click on them over there. And there are more columns to choose from as well. But anyway, multiple line of text, hitting next. All right, I'm going to name this one description. There's no default value. Now, I'm not going to make it required. Now, most of the time, people will want somebody to put in a description of the document. And the reason why that's good is that way the person can figure out what's in the document without going in the document if there's a good description. The name should be pretty short, but I'll show you how to have a descriptive name for the file as well. That's the next thing that we're going to go do. But having a description, depending on your business outcomes that you want to make sure are happening for this document library, you may make it required, you may not make it required. I'm not going to make it required. There's also some other choices here, like allow unlimited length in your document libraries. I normally don't have that. 6 lines is normally good enough. 6 lines of 255 characters, I believe, is normally enough. But if you need to let people be able to add more stuff to it, maybe you want it to be unlimited. And that's under my more options that I have right here. Okay. Now hit save for that. So, oh, I keep forgetting. There's already a column that exists named that. So I'm just going to name this doc description. Actually, I'm gonna name it like that. Um, Another thing is the columns also have their own URLs. So again, trying to name them short, um, but also with no spaces, because spaces in the URL translates to a %20. So where you'd have one space being one character, it translates into %20, which is %20. So it turns into 3 characters, which means every space gets 3 times the space. So don't use spaces when you're first creating your column. You want your column name when you first create it to be something short, something abbreviated as much as you can for the most part. Also, it helps when it comes to programming, because different types of programming, if you have a developer developing something in code, and depending on the code set that they're using, that %20 could turn into an even longer, I think it's like 7 or 8 character long thing, with underscores and X's and all. It's a big mess. So best to name it short, sweet, no spaces, and then come back and rename it. So I'll demonstrate that right now. So we'll name it doc description, save it. And then, like I said, we want to come back and rename this thing. So we'll just click on the drop down again, click on column settings, and then edit, and then come back and rename this thing. Now that I've named it something different as the internal name, which is the first name that is set when you first create this column, the display name, which is the second name, or any subsequent names that you give it, are not connected to anything. The internal name is the thing that's seriously important. The display name is what's displayed to people so that it looks good to them, so that they understand it. So if I wanted to keep it as doc description, I would actually have named it document, or renamed it document description. And the reason why I couldn't use description, because description is already a column name in the system. System columns, you cannot use those names over again. So I tricked the system by using a different internal name, and now I should be able to use description. Oh, okay. Maybe I can't. It used to be able that you could do that. I guess you can't do that anymore. So Microsoft has made that change, but it used to be that you could do that. The internal name was the one that mattered, but it's different now. So let me revise what I said before and say that no matter what, you can't use the system name for a column. So let me hit save. And now I have my document description, which will be a multi-line of text. All right. One more thing, one more column. And this one is not going to be one that I create. This one is one that's already here, but it's not shown. So I'm going to go to hide show columns. And then I'm going to go look for the title field, which is not showing up here, but not to fret. Sometimes it doesn't show up in the modern view, and it should show up in the classic view. The way I get to that is I go to the gear, and then I go to the library settings, and then I go hit more library settings. And then I see that I have these columns. I scroll down a bit on the settings page, and I see that I have these columns. One of the columns that you see right here is the title field, but for some reason it's not showing. So I want to make sure that it's in the view. I'm going to go to all views. All right, I have the name, which is the name of the document, which is linked to the URL. But I want the title field so that I can, there's title right there. So I can use that field to have a long descriptive name for my document, but use the name field and have a short name for the document. And that way the URL is as short as possible. Now, I don't want the title field to be all the way at the end. I can reorder it in the modern view, which I am going to show you with the rest of the columns, or I can reorder it here right now by just clicking on the drop down next to it, and then choosing the number of where I want it to be. I want it to be right after the name, so I want it to be column number 2. I can go back up to the top and hit OK to save this, or I could go to the bottom and hit OK down here. Now, I'm going to get into more about this whole thing in a little bit when we come back in to do groupings, so don't worry about this page right at this moment. I'm going to hit OK. Okay. And now, because of that, I left the screen, came back, the screen is refreshed. Now I'm seeing that I have some required fields that aren't filled in, so the system is complaining about them. But I also have my document description, which I did not make it required, so no complaint there. And I have my title field, which actually should be over here, but I I forgot that this icon field was there too. So this actually should have been made number 3. But anywho, let me just go ahead and move it like that. And I can move things in the order that make better sense by just dragging them and dropping them like so. If you are an owner or you have the ability to make edits where everybody can see them, this type of reordering will change the view for everybody. If you are one that doesn't have that type of access, then this type of reordering is only going to change it for you. But I can go in here and I can see the different views. Right now I only have one, but I have different ways that the view could look, and I have ways to create new views or add more fields and whatnot. We might get into some of that, especially we're going to come back here and look at the view of the grouped view once we create it in a minute. But I really wanted you to see, since I have this dot here, it's alerting me that I need to come in here and look. The alert is coming off of files that need attention, which are these that don't have any required information. So just more complaints from the system letting you know that there's some things that are not filled in, and there can be a catch with these. So, but I'll tell you that when we talk about version history and check in and check out. Right now, this document library is one that people can co-author in, meaning multiple people can work on the same document at the same time. But if I were to turn on check in and check out, then there would be something different that I need to do, but we're not going to talk about that right at this moment. Okay, so continuing on. Now I have my document library arranged in the way that I want. I have my title field, my document description, and the fields, the columns that I'm going to group by, as well as another column as well. Now, some of these things I need to fill in, and I also want to tell you a little bit more, demonstrate a little bit more about the name and the title field. So there's a couple of ways I could fill things in. I could edit in grid view, which changed things into kind of a spreadsheet, except for sometimes you can't see the lines. A spreadsheet type view where I could click on things and put in, this is a description for document number 1. I can add my description. I can label it as finance, the year, the quarter, like that. Okay. I can also make changes to the title and the name field. Now, remember how I was saying that it would be better for you to have the name to be short as short as possible. Even if you upload this document and it has a long name, or when you upload it, you could possibly, I think you can change the name uploading it. But even if you can't, go in and change the name so that the document has a short name, and then have the title field so you can have the nice long name. If it has a long name, you just copy that name and you put it in here like so. You would just copy the name like this, Control C, and then put it over here, Control V. But say the name of this document was long. The name of it was, this is a long document name. Say that was the name of the document over here. So we put that long name over there in the title, and then we shorten this one to something like long doc name. Actually, and let me put one on it. This is doc one. Okay. So you could do that. That way you can have a nice short name for the name that is connected to the URL, but then have a nice long name, the long descriptive name, so that you don't lose that name that somebody gave that document. You can capture it in the title field. And then you also have your document description, which can give people even more details about what the document is about. And then our tags, our metadata tags that help us to categorize, which we'll see in a little bit. The other way of editing, so I'm going to exit the grid view. The other way of editing these properties is to go to the, and let me hold on for a second because things have changed a little bit. I'm going to go through the details pane. So there's a couple of ways. Of course, Microsoft usually gives you a bunch of ways. That I'm going to check the box next to the document, hit the detail pane, and then if I want to edit the properties, I hit edit all. And then that opens this panel so that I can edit the properties. So this one, I said it was document. Let's see, this will be name 2. Add my stuff in here. Let's say that's a presentation for next year for Q1. Description, Oh, also, and I can show y'all, sometimes you get this form and you're like, why is the field down here? I wanted the field up here. My fields are not in the right order that I want on this form. There's a way that you can actually change the order of these fields as well, which I can show you in a minute. So I'm going to hit save. I'm not going to add any document description for this one. Okay. And then I can close the panel just by clicking the X. Now this is saying some files are missing metadata, and that was only because of what was there before. This has not refreshed itself, so I'm just going to just refresh the screen. Or I could have just X'd out of it. But if there were other ones that needed this metadata, then the thing, oh, actually it's popping back up because there are documents inside of the folders that don't have metadata on them. So that's what it's complaining about. But if you fixed all the files to make sure that they have all the metadata, then that will disappear if you refresh or exit out. You could also click on that to get to all the stuff, but I'm not going to go there right now. Okay, I said I was going to show you about the forms before I show you about the view. I'm going to go show you that. So how do you reorder the fields on the form? You go to the gear again. You go to library settings. And let me just take a break because, I just realized I've been talking for I don't know how long now. Anybody have any questions on what I've just done? I don't see any questions in the window. I would like to see a thumbs up if you all are following along and everything's good. or if you have any questions, please let me know. Okay, see one thumbs up. Everybody else okay? Okay, Sigul.
We have a hand up by Sigurd.
Yeah. So I have one question on the meta tagging. So I don't know if you've already talked about it. It's raining heavily here, so the network is a bit unstable.
Okay.
And I would like to know why metadata is better than creating folders, because a lot of us are used to creating folders and putting everything in different folders. If it's finance stuff, we create finance folders, put it in there. Marketing, we create it, yeah, put it in there. So I just wanted to know why metadata is better than creating these million folders.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, it's because it's because of the being able to find things more easily. But there's kind of a catch. So if you're using SharePoint, if you're using this type of look, if you're going to SharePoint, like I'm going to SharePoint right now, having folders is a cumbersome thing that you don't need. You can use these metadata tags to group by so that it's similar to the folder, but not one that not something that where you can't expand everything, which I will show you in a minute. But if you're using, and hold on for a minute, Harry, I will get you in a second. But if you're using if you're downloading not downloading, if you're syncing these files to your computer and you're using the browser, I'm sorry, the File Explorer version, then you're going to need you may need some folders because metadata has not been added to those types of views. But go ahead, Harry.
Okay, just to expand on that, also with the metadata, as you add more metadata into your document libraries, you're also able to use that metadata, but it's for search, which means you have search from other APIs like workflows, Power BI, dashboards, things of that nature, Copilot, things that will allow your system to be able to be looked at by all these other things so you can get usage of your data. It's good to have files and folders in your document library, but if you have to constantly keep going to each and every one inside your system, find it first and then get that data and analyze that data from that file and folder manually. It's cumbersome, it's long, it's not modernized. You can't have any type of connection to that. So, but me as a business owner, I may need to know, what happened in Q1 in 2004 versus what happened to in Q2 2005, right? I have a Power BI dashboard connected to my document library. It will be able to see, based on this metadata, 2005, Q2, and Q1, and make those comparisons. And I'll be able to see side by side exactly what I did last year versus this year versus what I'm going to do next year. So that's the importance of metadata because of the search capability, even the search that allows you to connect to other areas of AI and the other part of your system, which allow you to go from using 25 to 30% of your Office 365 to 154% return on your investment.
All right. Any other questions before we continue? Okay, so I'm going to show you how to, if you have any questions, make sure you put them in the chat window while you have them so that you don't forget what the heck you were about to ask me. But if any time you want to come off mute, you can also do that as well and interrupt me. All right, so now we're going to go look at the form, how we can reorder the form, and then I'm going to show you what we meant to show you this whole time, which was the grouping in the view. But let me go ahead and show you the form. So I went to the gear, I went to library settings, now I'm going to more library settings. All right, and then I'm going down to the column section. In the column section, there's these links down here. One of them is called column ordering. This is how I change the way the fields look on my form. So notice document description is down here, and I actually want it to be up here. Okay, make that number 3, and then hit OK. All right. Looks like I had added description in here twice. So let me actually delete this one. So I'm going to go into description and delete it. Oh, so that's what happened. Somehow I had already had the description field. That's how. It wasn't a system column. Yeah, apologies. That document, the description column was already there from another training or something that we did. I didn't realize it was there. So I had tried to create another one. That's the another thing that the system will not allow you to do. Will not allow you to name any columns after any system columns or any columns that you've already created in that same document library or that same list. So that was my bad. So let me go back so that you can see the form now. So if I go to this document and I want to, where did the edit go? Oh, here, details, here we go. Down at the bottom, opens up the details pane, but there's also details right there. If you check the box and then you hit details and then you hit edit all, and then we see description is now up here where I wanted it to be. So that's how you reorder the form. I'm just going to cancel out of this. Now let's look at adding that grouping that I was talking about this whole time. All right, so let me X out of this. Now the way that we're going to do that is we're going to create a new view because we still want to have this view. So say, for example, folks are using both some people are syncing this library to their computer. So you might need some folders, but then some people are also going here to the library itself in the browser in SharePoint. So you need another view for folks that are using this type of view. So we'll just create an additional view where one thing we could do is we could go create a new view right here. We could also save this view as a view and then use it as the base to start another view. Or we can go to the settings, the library settings, go down to the bottom, and there's also create view down at the bottom. But I'm just going to go ahead and create new view right here. I'm going to name it group. Now, again, with the views, with the folders, with the file names, those are all tied to the URL. So I could come back in and rename this view. But I'm gonna, show you a little bit difference between the views and other things. I can make this a public view because I have that type of level. I am an owner of the site. Actually, I'm admin, so I can, administer all the sites. But I'm an owner of the site at least, so I'm able to make public views. I could make it a private view by unchecking the box, but I do want this for everybody. Now, again, if you don't have ownership of the site to be able to make those types of edits, then you won't have this box to even be able to check, or it'll be grayed out so you can't check it. So I'm gonna hit create. And now I'm in a view. It looks basically like the same view that I was just in, because all it did was make a copy, but see that the name is different here. Now I'm going to make some changes to this view. So I'm going to go to that drop down again and click on Edit Current View. And now it's going to take me to the old school look that we were just in a little bit ago. Now, remember I said I was going to tell you a little how views are a little bit different from other things. Views have a way for you to be able to name the view as long as you want, and then you can come back in and do it the opposite way, which is rename the URL, because you will be given the opportunity to rename the URL to something else. So you can make the URL really short and sweet and have the group name, the view name be as long as you want, as long as you come back in and edit the URL for the group name so that you don't go over the 400 characters. So this is going to be group. I'm just going to say group by. Grouped by for right now. All right. So I want all of these options here for right now, except for doc type and quarter. I'm sorry, doc type and year. The reason why I'm going to take those off is because they're going to look pretty redundant when I actually use these two things to group by. All right, so I'm going to go down here. I took these two fields off so they won't appear in the view. I have a bunch of options here that I'll explain a bit. So you have the sort, where you can choose how you want to sort by two different levels, by which column you want to sort by, and by ascending or descending order. You can only do two levels. There's also the filter. So if you wanted a view that only showed a certain subset of data by a certain column, you could choose the column and then filter the data down by using the and or filter. And meaning both things have to be true, or meaning one or the other thing has to be true. And this one has multiple layers, so you can go down and filter down more than two layers. There's the tabular view, which allows folks to have that checkbox next to the item. Now, there may be a reason why you want to remove the checkbox next from the item. So say, for example, it's a view where most people, or all people are going to see it that are the regular staff, but you may have a management view where, folks that are a certain, which can do stuff because they will have different options available to them. But for everybody else, you want to remove the ability for them to be able to make certain types of edits that come when you check the box, certain types of things that you could do when you check the box next to the option or next to the file. You can remove that if you need to do that, but most of the time you don't need to do that. Group by is what we're going to get into in a minute, but let's go past that for a second and look at totals. Totals is one that is the options that you get are dependent on the type of column that you have. So this one, modified, is a date column. So because it's numbers based, I get count, average, max, and min. But modified by or name, for example, I only get none and count because they're text based. There's nothing to do any math on. So I can't choose any type of option that would do that type of thing. If I had for example, a numbers column, which I don't have here, a column that just showed, different numbers or percentages or something like that, then I would also have, I think, standard deviation, average, and something else that I also have options for. The styles, don't worry about these styles anymore. These are for the old school, old SharePoint look and feel. We're all on modern now, so these don't apply anymore. But Microsoft has not updated the UI for this yet. Folders, I am going to eliminate folders in this. So you can have folders in the library, but just not show them in the view. So that's what I'm going to do in this one. I'm going to show all the items, but without folders. The item limit, that helps for how many are displaying per page. So they would get the little page thing at the bottom where they can flip page to page, or they keep, I think in the modern view, you just keep scrolling down and more would show up in the view. So this used to be very, very important back in the day. Not as important as much now, but you may want to keep it on the default. The mobile, yeah, this the SharePoint's now responsive, so this doesn't even really matter either anymore. All right, now let me go back up to what we came here for, which is the group by. And I said that I wanted to group by the document type and the year. Now that's the catch with the group by though. Even though this thing is awesome for the removing of folder levels, its drawback is you could only do 2 groups. So you have to be, you have to kind of think about the type of groups that you want, or the type of categorization that you want to group these things by. Okay, sometimes you might have to combine fields. Like if you wanted year and quarter, maybe year and quarter should be one field where it's 2025 Q1, 2025 Q2, 2025 to Q3, and so forth and so on, as choices in that field. But that's not the way we did it here. So we have the 2 choices we have. So I'm going to click OK. And now we get to see what that looks like. So kinda like folders, but I have the ability to expand expand everything so that I can actually see everything. Ooh, crap, there we go. See everything that's in here. So not only do I have the ability to kind of group things in a folder-like manner, but I have the ability to expand all of the folders if I wanted to, as opposed to an actual folder where I have to actually go down in the folder in order to see what's in it. But remember, there's always this handy search box up at the top, which people tend to forget about. The search box can be very helpful to help you find what it is that you're looking for. But so can these tags, because not only can you do the grouping by it, you also can do the filtering on the fly. So say, for example, somebody just wants to see the documents just from this year, so they can go to the year. Oh, well, actually can't go to it in here, but say they want to see the ones from this quarter. We're in Q2 now, so they click on the drop down for the quarter, they go to the filter by, and they choose Q2, they hit apply, and only thing they see is the Q2 document. And the same thing applies in the other view. So if we look in the other view, we go back to the all documents view, and we wanted to see only the Q2 documents. We go to the quarter column, go to filter by, choose Q2, and I only see the file, no folders at all. So that's another way you can get around some of these folders. But having these metadata tags helps with grouping, helps with filtering, helps with the search engine, helps with AI when you want to layer that on top of it, helps with your data visualization, as Harry was talking about. It helps with so many things that you really should use metadata when it comes to your libraries, your document libraries. You really should be using that as part of your plan, not just putting in folders. And if folks are going to SharePoint, don't use folders at all. Only use folders if they happen to be syncing those files to their computer and they're using, then they have to have some kind of folder structure, because there's no metadata tags right now in the File Explorer. Microsoft has promised it, but it hasn't happened yet. Hopefully it'll happen at some point. But right now, folders are still needed. So in that case, if you have some users syncing the files and some users going to SharePoint, you'd have the two different views instead of just having just the view without any folders. Or if you have all of your users syncing, then you're going to have to use folders, but you want to make sure that you still have your metadata for all the other reasons that we talked about, and train your users on search and to not have so many folder levels deep so that they don't lose things. All right. So do you want to try some of the stuff that we discussed? There's a way for you to get a M365 developer account. It used to be completely free and now it's free-ish. Now you actually have to have a Visual Studio Professional or Enterprise license in order to get access. And you can get your own free account here using this QR code. But if you'd like to play around and practice, let us know. We can set up a environment so that you all can have some place to practice if you'd like to come in and start practicing on SharePoint or other things. We can accommodate as a tech community. All right, so we hope you all enjoyed today's presentation or this month's presentation. We enjoyed having you for the learning as well as the networking. There's the QR codes on the screen for going to the community page, which is where we have the discussions. We have our QR code for going to the company page, which is where all the events are. And you can check out the next event, which will be Saturday, May 24th. Same time, same place, same link. And also there is the post-event survey, so you can let us know how we did in this month's community call and how we can improve. So we're looking forward to seeing you next month. Have a good one.